My name is Margaret Lewis. I am 68 years old, and my whole life I believed one simple thing: family will never harm you. Ah, how wrong I was. If I had listened to that small, trembling voice inside me earlier, maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't have ended up lying there on that cold hospital table, about to give away a part of my body for a truth I didn't even understand. That day, the room felt frozen. The white lights above me burned my eyes, and the smell of medicine filled my lungs so heavily that breathing itself felt like a burden. I lay there in a thin blue hospital gown, my hands slightly shaking. Not because of the cold, no, because something deep in my heart was whispering, "Stop, something isn't right." But what could I do? I'm a mother. My son needs you, they had told me again and again. It's your responsibility. It's your duty. Duty, ha, such a heavy word. I slowly turned my head toward the glass window, and there she stood, my daughter-in-law Lena. Her posture was stiff, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her eyes didn't look worried. They looked sharp, calculating, watching me like she was waiting for something, not hoping, but expecting. "Mrs. Lewis, we're ready." The doctor's voice pulled me back. He held a consent form toward me. I stared at it for a long moment. My name printed clearly at the top, my decision, my sacrifice, my life. My fingers trembled as I picked up the pen. I remembered my son Daniel, my poor Daniel, the little boy who used to run into my arms after school shouting, "Mom, look what I made." The same boy who once told me, "I'll build you a big house one day, Mama, you'll see." And now he lay in another room. Weak, pale, fading more each day, and me, I was the only one who could save him. "Sign here," the nurse gently said. I nodded slowly. "Yes, of course, I will save my son." My voice sounded far away, like it wasn't even mine anymore. The pen touched the paper, and with one shaking motion, I signed. At that moment, it felt like I sealed not just a decision, but something much deeper, something final. I closed my eyes for a second. I tried to calm my thoughts. But inside there was chaos, a strange fear, a quiet question that refused to leave. "Why does this feel so wrong?" "Prepare the anesthesia," someone said. I heard the sound of metal instruments moving, soft footsteps. Whispers between the staff. Everything was moving forward, and I couldn't stop it. I glanced once more at the glass. Lena was still there. This time she nodded slightly, as if saying, "Good, you finally did it." That nod, that small, almost invisible gesture, sent a chill through my entire body. Just as the nurse stepped closer, just as the doctor reached toward me, the door burst open. Hard, sudden, violent. "Grandma," that voice, my heart nearly stopped. I forced my head to turn, and there he was. My little grandson Noah, 9 years old, breathing hard, his chest rising and falling like he had run for his life, his clothes messy, his shoes dirty, his eyes were filled with something I had never seen before. Fear and courage mixed together. "Noah," I whispered. "What was he doing here? Why did he look like that?" A nurse rushed after him. "You can't be in here, child." But Noah didn't listen. He ran straight to me. His small hands were shaking as he held an old phone tightly. "Grandma," his voice trembled. "Please don't do this." My heart clenched. What are you talking about, my dear?" I asked softly. He swallowed hard. Tears filled his eyes. "I have to tell you the truth." The entire room went still. Even the doctors stopped moving. From the other side of the glass, Lena suddenly moved forward. Her face lost all color. "No. Don't listen to him," she shouted loudly. "He doesn't know anything." But this time her voice wasn't confident. It was shaking. Noah didn't even turn to look at her. He stepped closer to me, closer than before. Like he needed me to hear every word. "Grandma," he whispered, "Dad isn't sick the way they're telling you." My breath caught. My mind froze. What do you mean?" The doctor raised his hand. "Everyone wait," he said firmly. "Let the boy speak." Noah lifted the phone slowly, his fingers trembling like leaves in the wind. I have proof. What kind of proof could a child bring? What did he see? What did he hear?" My heart started pounding louder and louder inside my chest. Something was breaking. Something I had held together for so long was beginning to crack. And then he said the words that changed everything. "Grandma, Dad is like this because—" He paused. His lips trembled, tears fell, and in that tiny moment of silence I felt it, that deep fear inside me, that doubt I had ignored. It wasn't imagination, it wasn't weakness. What could a little boy reveal that would stop a mother from saving her own son? And why did my daughter-in-law look so terrified instead of relieved? The first secret will come out, and once you hear it, you will never look at family the same way again. My heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest as I looked at Noah standing there, trembling, holding that small old phone like it was the most important thing in the world. His eyes were full, tears rolling down slowly, but he didn't wipe them. He was trying so hard to be brave. "Grandma," he said softly, his voice shaking, "please just listen to me once." I swallowed hard. Something inside me was already breaking. "All right, tell me, my dear," I whispered, even though my throat felt dry and tight. The whole room had gone silent. No one moved. Even the doctors stood still, looking at the child who had suddenly stopped everything. Noah tapped the phone and a recording started. At first, there was a faint, scratchy sound and then a voice. I froze. It was Lena. Her voice was low, careful, almost like she didn't want anyone to hear her. Keep giving him the medicine slowly. Don't increase it too fast. We need stable results. My fingers curled tightly against the sheet. My breath caught in my throat. What was she talking about? Another voice answered, a man I didn't recognize. And the transplant, is it confirmed? Then Lena again, calm, steady, cold in a way I had never noticed before. Yes. Once it happens, everything will align perfectly. We'll have the data we need. Data, that word again. Something heavy dropped inside my chest. This was not how a wife spoke about her husband. This was not about saving someone. This sounded like planning, like something calculated. She won't refuse, Lena added quietly. She's his mother. That sentence struck deep, so deep I felt it inside my bones. She'll do anything for him, my vision blurred. I couldn't breathe properly anymore. Noah paused the recording slowly. His small hands were shaking badly now. No one in the room spoke. The silence was suffocating. Behind the glass, Lena suddenly shouted, her voice sharp and broken. That's fake, it's fake. Anyone can make recordings like that. But this time her voice had no strength, no control, only fear, real fear. I looked at Noah again. My poor child, his face was pale. I didn't understand before, Grandma, but I heard her talking many times. I got scared, so I saved it. He had been carrying this alone. All this fear, all this confusion. A child should never have to hold something like this. My eyes filled with tears. Noah, where did you find this? I asked softly. He wiped his nose with his sleeve, still trying to stay strong. Her old phone, she forgot it. I listened. I didn't know what it meant, but it felt wrong. Yes, wrong. That same feeling I had ignored, that same uneasiness that never left my heart. Enough, Lena screamed again from outside, hitting the glass with her hand. He's just confused. He's a child. Stop this nonsense, but no one moved now. No one rushed to agree with her. Even the doctors were looking uncertain. Dr. Patel stepped forward slowly and looked at me. Mrs. Lewis, did you know anything about this? My lips trembled. No, I whispered. I didn't know, and that was the truth, but deep inside I felt something else. I had sensed it. I had just chosen silence. Suddenly the door opened again with force. Stop this, I turned my head quickly. Brandon, my younger son, stood there, breathing heavily, his face flushed, his eyes burning with fear and anger. Mom, don't do this, he said as he walked toward me. His voice was firm now, but there was pain in it. Please don't give your kidney, my heart tightened. Brandon, what are you saying? He looked at the doctors, then back at me. She's been hurting him, he said. The room froze again. What do you mean? The doctor asked sharply. Brandon took out his phone, his hands shaking slightly. I followed her. I saw her meeting someone outside the hospital. She was exchanging medicines and money. Everything suddenly felt darker. No, Lena shouted again. This is all lies, but her voice was breaking now, falling apart. Brandon stepped closer to me and lowered his voice. Mom, I'm trying to protect you and him, my son, Daniel. I slowly turned my head toward the direction of his room. He was lying there, weak, trusting everyone, not knowing any of this. And then a terrifying thought entered my mind. What if he wasn't just sick? What if he had been made sick? My chest tightened so painfully I felt like I couldn't breathe. Noah gently held my hand. Grandma, please don't let them hurt you too. That small sentence shattered whatever strength I had left. Tears rolled down my face as I looked around the room again. At the doctors, at my sons, at my grandson, and at the woman outside the glass, the woman I once trusted. And for the first time, I asked myself honestly, what is really happening to my family? If my son was not just sick, then what had truly been done to him? And how long had this hidden truth been growing right in front of us? My chest felt tight, so tight that breathing slowly began to hurt. I kept looking at Brandon, then at Noah, then at that small phone still trembling in my grandson's hands. Something inside me was breaking, but I didn't know yet if it was fear or truth. Show them everything, Brandon said again, this time softer but heavier. He stepped forward. His hands were shaking, not weak shaking, but the kind that comes when you're holding back too much anger, too much pain. I didn't want to believe it, he said, his voice low. I kept telling myself, no, this is family, this can't be real. But he stopped for a moment, closed his eyes, then opened them again, more determined. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. His words felt too familiar, because that's exactly what I had been doing, ignoring everything. He unlocked his phone slowly, as if each second mattered. The room was completely still again. Even the air felt heavy. Everyone was waiting, watching, judging. He turned the screen toward the doctor first, then slightly toward me. Look carefully, he said. The doctor leaned in, serious, focused. And I forced my eyes to look. Even though something inside me was already screaming, don't look, you won't be able to unsee it, the image appeared. And in that instant, my heart sank. There she was, Lena. My daughter-in-law standing in the hospital parking lot, but not like a worried wife, not like someone waiting for news. No, she kept looking around, quick glances. Left, right, her body stiff, alert, cautious. Like someone who was hiding something, in front of her stood a man. I didn't know him, tall, wearing a dark jacket, a cap pulled low, his face almost completely hidden. The kind of person you wouldn't notice twice, but also the kind you would never trust. Brandon swiped to the next image. My fingers pressed harder into the bed sheet. Lena was holding something, a small packet wrapped carefully sealed. She handed it to the man, no hesitation, no fear, like this was not new, like she had done this before. Then the next image. The man handed her something, an envelope, thick, not empty, not light. Ah, my breath stopped. I knew what that meant. Money, my lips trembled. No, no, this is not possible, I whispered, my voice barely coming out, but the images stayed the same, cold, unchanging, unforgiving. Mom, Brandon said softly now, stepping closer to me. This is not the only thing. Ah. There was more, my heart couldn't take it, but it didn't stop. I checked his medicines, he continued. At home and here too. The doctor turned sharply. What do you mean? He asked. Brandon didn't hesitate this time. There are pills that don't match the prescription, some bottles without labels, hidden separately. Ah, at that moment, something inside me connected. Suddenly, violently. That night in the hospital, that glass of water, that one strange pill, the way Lena quickly hid it, the way she smiled too fast, the way she never let anyone else touch Daniel's medicine, I remembered everything. Everything I said was nothing. Everything I said didn't matter. Everything I chose not to see. My eyes filled with tears. Ah, how blind I had been, not because I couldn't see, but because I didn't want to. No, Lena's voice suddenly burst from the other side of the glass. That means nothing. Anyone can misunderstand things. Her voice was breaking now, not strong anymore, not controlled. The doctor raised his hand slightly. That calm authority in his face was gone now. This is very serious, he said quietly. Then louder, bring the patient's medication. Now, a nurse rushed out quickly, footsteps echoed. Time felt slow again, heavy, dragging. Noah suddenly squeezed my fingers tightly, his small hand so warm, so fragile. Grandma, he whispered, his voice shaking again. I saw her change the medicines sometimes. Ah, that sentence, it broke something deep inside me. You saw? I asked slowly. My voice trembled, he nodded. I asked her once, she told me not to talk about it. His eyes filled with tears again. I got scared. Ah, my poor child, he had been afraid in his own home. Afraid of asking questions, afraid of the truth. The nurse returned shortly after. She carried a small sealed bag. Doctor, she said, slightly breathless, these were found in the patient's drawer. The doctor opened the bag carefully, slowly, as if already expecting something wrong. Inside were pills, different shapes, different colors, some loose, some in small bottles, no labels, no names, nothing clear. The doctor's face hardened. These are not part of the prescribed treatment, he said firmly. He looked at the team, then at me. This is extremely dangerous. Ah, that was it. No more doubt, no more confusion, no more denial. Everything was real. My head dropped slightly, tears rolled down quietly, not loud crying, not shaking, just silent, painful, deep. I whispered slowly. I would have given my kidney without knowing, my voice broke. For a lie, the doctor straightened up. Call security, he ordered firmly, and inform administration immediately. And in that moment, I knew something had completely changed, something that would never return to how it was before. If those medicines were not meant to heal my son, then what were they really doing to him, little by little, every day? And if money was involved, how long had this been going on behind my back? The air in the room felt different now. Heavy, tense, almost suffocating. What had started as a surgery had turned into something else, something dark, something dangerous. Within minutes, security arrived. 2 officers stepped inside, serious faces, sharp eyes, no confusion. Only control, what's happening here? One of them asked. The doctor didn't hesitate. Yes, he said immediately. Suspected tampering with medication and possible harm to a patient. Tampering, harm. Such simple words, but so heavy. Behind the glass, Lena stepped back slowly. No, no, you're misunderstanding everything, she said quickly. But this time her voice didn't sound convincing. It sounded scared. Her eyes moved around rapidly, searching, calculating, trying to find a way out. Then suddenly she turned, as if she was going to leave. Ma'am, you cannot leave right now, the security officer said firmly, stepping in front of her. She froze. You don't understand, she said quickly. This is all a misunderstanding. But no one believed that anymore. Not now, not after everything. Brandon stepped closer to the glass, his eyes burning. You thought no one would find out, he said, his voice low but filled with anger. You thought we would stay quiet forever. I was helping him, Lena suddenly shouted. Helping, hearing that word now felt like something bitter in my chest. Helping him how? Brandon snapped immediately. By giving him unknown drugs, by making him weaker. For a moment, Lena didn't answer. Just one moment. But that silence, it said more than any words. I closed my eyes briefly. That silence confirmed everything. The doctor turned back toward me. Mrs. Lewis, the surgery is canceled. Canceled. That one word, it felt like someone cut the rope that was tightening around my chest. I could finally breathe again. Tears came out suddenly, not slow this time, not quiet, deep, heavy. I whispered. I almost went through with it. My voice trembled badly. I almost gave everything without knowing the truth. Noah gently leaned closer. It's okay, Grandma, he whispered softly. You didn't, ah, my brave little boy. Even now, he was comforting me. Then suddenly, a weak voice came from behind. Mom, my heart stopped. I turned quickly. Daniel, my son, he was awake, looking at us with confusion, pain, fear. What's happening? He asked slowly. Ah, that question, how could I answer it? How could I tell him the truth without breaking him completely? Brandon stepped forward first. We're here, he said gently. Just stay calm. Daniel's eyes slowly moved toward the glass, toward Lena. Lena, he called softly. She froze completely. For the first time, her face changed, not controlled, not strong, not cold, afraid. Please, she said softly. Let me explain. Ah, that moment, I understood everything, not just what she did. But what she had been hiding, this was not just betrayal. This was not just lies. This was a plan. And now that plan was collapsing. If this was all part of a plan, then what exactly were they trying to achieve with my son, and why did they need me so desperately for that surgery? For a long moment, no one spoke. The room felt frozen, as if even time itself was waiting for Lena to say something, anything that could explain all this. Daniel was still looking at her through the glass, his weak eyes filled with confusion and pain. Lena, what are they talking about? He asked quietly. Ah, that voice, it broke me again, because there was still trust in it, still love, still belief, and that made everything even more painful. Lena stepped forward slowly, her hands trembling now. Daniel, listen to me. It's not what it looks like, she said, but her words felt empty, hollow. Even she didn't sound like she believed them. Brandon let out a bitter laugh. Not what it looks like, he said sharply. Then explain it. Explain the recordings. Explain the pills. Explain the photos. Lena's lips trembled, but no words came out, not immediately. And that silence, ah, it said everything. The doctor crossed his arms and spoke in a firm voice. We need a clear explanation, right now. Lena looked around quickly, as if trying to find someone to help her. No one did. Her parents were no longer confident either. Their faces had lost all color. Their presence, once loud and dominating, had turned silent and weak. Slowly, Lena's shoulders dropped, as if whatever strength she had left was gone. She closed her eyes for a second, then opened them again. And this time, something had changed. Fine, she said quietly. Her voice was low, almost like a whisper. You want the truth? My heart stopped again. Yes, Brandon said immediately. Daniel looked at her without blinking. I held Noah's hand tightly, and Lena finally spoke. He wasn't supposed to get this sick, she said. Ah, those words, they felt like something tearing through my chest. What? I whispered. Her voice shook slightly, but she continued. It started small, just controlled doses, just to observe reactions. My body went numb. Observe, reactions. This was not medical care. This was something else, something cruel. Who told you to do that? The doctor asked sharply. Lena hesitated, then slowly said, My parents and the people they work with. Her mother gasped softly. Don't say anything, she whispered, but it was too late. Everything was already breaking apart. Lena continued, now almost unable to stop. They said it was a trial, an opportunity, that it could bring us money, a better life, money. Ah, always money, destroying everything it touches. So you used your own husband? Brandon shouted angrily. Lena flinched. I didn't mean to, but you did, Brandon snapped. Daniel's breathing became heavier. You did this to me? He asked slowly. His voice trembled. Lena's eyes filled with tears, but not the kind that come from regret, more like fear of losing everything. I thought I could control it, she said, but his condition got worse than expected. Ah, I couldn't listen anymore. My chest hurt too much. This wasn't just betrayal. This was cruelty, cold, planned cruelty, using a human life like it meant nothing, using family like they were tools. I shook my head slowly, tears falling again. You were willing to let me risk my life for this? I asked her. My voice was weak. Broken, Lena looked at me. For a brief moment, there was guilt, but it disappeared quickly. We needed the transplant data. It would complete everything, she said. Ah, I felt something inside me collapse completely. I was not even seen as a person, just a part of a plan, just a step. That realization hurt more than anything. If they were willing to go this far, to risk lives for money and data, then how many others had they already harmed before we even knew the truth? The room exploded with tension. Nobody could stay silent anymore. Daniel tried to sit up even though his body was weak. All this time, he said slowly, struggling to speak, I trusted you, his voice cracked. Ah, that pain, it wasn't just physical, it was something deeper, something that doesn't heal easily. Lena stepped forward instinctively. Daniel, please, but he moved his hand away from her. Don't, he said quietly. That one word, it cut deeper than any shout. His eyes, once full of love, now held distance, cold distance, and Lena saw it. She froze again. Brandon clenched his fists. You almost killed him, he said. And you wanted mom to go through surgery too, just for your plan? Lena didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say. The security officers stepped forward at that moment. Ma'am, you need to come with us, one of them said firmly. Lena looked around helplessly, at her parents, at Daniel, at me, but there was no support left, no protection, no escape. You don't understand, she said one last time, her voice cracking again. We were building something big, something big, built on pain, lies, and betrayal. What kind of future could come from that? They took her by the arm gently but firmly. She tried to pull back slightly. Wait, just let me explain properly, but it was over, completely over. Her parents were also stopped, their arrogance gone completely now, replaced with silence and fear. As they were taken away, Lena turned one last time toward Daniel, but he didn't look at her. He simply lowered his head. Ah, that hurt to see. Even after everything, he was still breaking inside. The room slowly quieted down after they left, but that quiet, it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like after a storm when everything is still but nothing feels the same anymore. I slowly sat up with help from Brandon. My body still felt weak, but my mind was finally awake. Mom, Brandon said softly, his voice full of emotion. It's over now, we're here. I looked at him, my strong son, the one who didn't stay silent. The one who chose truth even when it was hard. I squeezed his hand gently. Thank you, I whispered. Then I looked at Noah, my little hero, still standing close, still holding on to me, his small face tired but brave. Ah, this child saved me, saved all of us. I pulled him close and kissed his forehead. You did something very big today, I said softly. He shook his head. I was just scared, Grandma. Ah, even in that, he didn't realize his courage. Then slowly I turned toward Daniel. He looked so fragile, so broken, but alive, still alive. That was enough for me in that moment. I reached for his hand gently. We'll get through this, I told him. My voice still weak but steady, because now it was no longer about sacrifice for lies. It was about healing, real healing together. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something different. Not fear, not doubt, but clarity. If truth could break a family this deeply, then could it also rebuild it again, or were some wounds simply too deep to ever heal? The hospital slowly returned to silence, but inside me, nothing was quiet. It felt like a storm had passed through my chest, leaving behind broken pieces I didn't yet know how to gather. I was helped off the operating table and moved into a recovery bed, my body weak but my mind awake in a way it hadn't been for a long time. Brandon stayed beside me, not leaving even for a second, his hand always close like he was afraid I might disappear. Noah sat quietly at the foot of the bed, his small shoulders slightly hunched, still processing everything. And Daniel, my poor son, he lay across from me in another bed, staring at the ceiling, unmoving. The doctors began running new tests immediately. They took blood samples, checked his vitals again, and carefully reviewed every medication he had been given over the past weeks. I could hear them talking quietly in the corner, using words I didn't fully understand, but the tone told me enough. Something serious had been done to him, something dangerous. After some time, Dr. Patel came to sit beside me. His voice was calmer now, but still heavy. Mrs. Lewis, your son's condition has worsened because of substances that should never have been given in this way, he said. My hands began to tremble again. Will he recover? I asked, my voice barely steady. He paused for a moment, choosing his words carefully. We believe he can improve, but it will take time. His body has been under stress for longer than we initially thought. Time, something we almost lost completely. I nodded slowly, tears forming again but not falling. I had cried so much already, it felt like my heart was tired even of pain. Brandon looked at the doctor sharply. What kind of substances? He asked. The doctor's expression hardened. We suspect experimental compounds, possibly linked to unapproved medical trials. Hearing that made my stomach turn. Experimental, my son was not a patient to be treated, he was a test subject. My breath caught in my chest again. I turned my head slowly toward Daniel. He was still silent, too silent. Daniel, I called softly. He didn't respond at first, then slowly, very slowly, he turned his head toward me. His eyes were red not just from tears, but from everything collapsing inside him. Mom, he whispered, just that one word. I reached my hand toward him and he reached back weakly. Our fingers touched. That simple touch, it reminded me of when he was a child, scared of the dark, holding my hand tightly. But now we were both the ones afraid. I'm here, I said softly. I didn't know, he whispered, his voice trembling. I didn't see anything, I trusted her. That pain, it wasn't something I could fix with words. I shook my head gently. We will focus on getting you better, that's all that matters now. He closed his eyes and a tear slipped down. Meanwhile, outside, everything was already moving fast. The hospital administration had begun a full investigation. Police officers were going through records, asking questions, collecting evidence. Brandon stepped outside briefly to speak with them, explaining everything he had seen, showing the photos again. Even Noah, though young, was gently asked to share what he knew. I watched him from a distance, my little boy sitting there answering questions with small, careful words. My heart hurt seeing him like that, but at the same time I felt proud, so proud he didn't stay silent. He chose courage. That night when things became quieter, the three of us finally sat together. Me, Brandon, and Noah. No hospital noise, no doctors speaking, just us. I looked at them both, the ones who had pulled me back from a decision I didn't fully understand. You saved me, I said softly. Brandon shook his head immediately. No, Mom, we just told the truth. But sometimes telling the truth is the hardest thing in the world. Noah leaned against me gently. I was really scared, he whispered. I stroked his hair slowly. So was I replied, but you were braver than all of us. And in that quiet moment, I realized something. The family I thought I had was not the one standing with me now. This was my real family. The ones who chose truth even when it hurt. If the investigation uncovered more victims, then how many lives had already been affected before my son, and would the truth really bring justice or just more pain? The next few days passed slowly, but nothing felt normal anymore. The hospital, once just a place of treatment, now felt like the center of something much bigger. Police officers came and went, papers were signed, records were reviewed. Everyone spoke in low, serious voices. The truth had begun to spread. It was no longer just about our family. It had grown into something far more serious. One morning, Brandon came into my room holding a newspaper. His face looked different, not angry this time, but heavy. Mom, it's everywhere now, he said quietly. He handed it to me. My hands trembled slightly as I looked down. The headline was bold, impossible to ignore. It spoke about an illegal operation, hidden medical testing, patients used without full consent. My chest tightened reading it. My son was part of that story now. Our pain written in words for strangers to read. There may be more victims, Brandon added softly. They're checking other cases too. More victims. That thought made my heart ache even more. How many families had felt confused like us? How many had trusted without knowing? I placed the paper down slowly. Will they be punished? I asked. Brandon nodded. They already have strong evidence, the recordings, the medicines, the transactions, it's all building against them. I closed my eyes for a moment. Justice, yes, but it didn't erase what had been done. Later that day, I visited Daniel again. He looked slightly better, still weak, but more aware. They told me everything, he said quietly. I sat beside him and held his hand. I'm sorry, he added. I frowned slightly. Why are you saying sorry? He swallowed hard. Because I brought her into our lives, I let her get close. I didn't protect you. Hearing that, I shook my head gently. No, you loved and you trusted. That is not something to be ashamed of. He looked at me, his eyes still filled with pain. But it almost cost you, he whispered. No, I said softly, because your brother and your son stood up. I turned slightly and looked toward the door where Brandon had been standing earlier and where Noah had peeked in shyly. We still have each other, I continued. That is what matters. Daniel closed his eyes slowly, holding onto my hand a little tighter this time. That evening, when I finally returned home for a short rest, the house felt different. Quieter, heavier, but also clearer. I walked slowly through each room. The kitchen, the chair where I used to sit, the small table where we shared meals. Everything looked the same, yet nothing felt the same anymore. I stepped into the backyard where Noah used to play. I could almost hear his laughter echo, and I realized something important. Pain had changed us, but it had also revealed something. Truth does not just destroy, sometimes it shows you exactly who stands beside you. I took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. For the first time in many days, it didn't feel suffocating. But even as truth brought clarity, the question remained, could Daniel fully recover, and could our broken family ever become whole again, or would this betrayal leave a scar that never fades? The days that followed did not feel like real days anymore. Everything moved slowly, as if time itself had become tired. I stayed at the hospital most of the time, sitting beside Daniel, watching every small change in his face, every movement, every breath. Before all this, I never realized how precious something as simple as breathing could be. The doctors began a new treatment plan carefully. They had removed all the harmful substances from his system and started supportive care, monitoring him closely. Every morning they would come in, check his charts, speak in serious tones, and leave again. Each time I waited for one simple word, progress. Sometimes they gave it, sometimes they didn't. And each time they didn't, my heart felt a little heavier. Daniel tried to stay strong, but I could see the pain behind his eyes. Not just physical pain, something deeper. One evening, when the room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines, he spoke again. Mom, do you think I'll ever feel normal again? That question, I didn't have an answer ready. No mother ever wants to face that kind of question. I gently held his hand. You will, I said softly, even though my voice carried uncertainty. It just takes time. He looked down. I keep thinking, how long was this happening? How did I not notice? His voice broke slightly. I shook my head. Because you trusted, and trust is not a weakness. He didn't answer immediately. Then he said quietly, it feels like I lost something I can't get back. Ah, I understood that. Some wounds don't show outside, but they remain inside for a long time. I could not fix that pain. I could only sit beside him and stay. Brandon became our strength during these days. He handled everything outside the hospital. Paperwork, police questions, documents. He managed all of it, never letting it reach us unless necessary. Sometimes I would watch him from a distance. Ah, my quiet son, the one who used to stand in the background, now carrying everything without complaining. One afternoon, he came in and sat beside me. Mom, they found more cases, he said quietly. My heart sank. More, he nodded. Other patients, similar symptoms, similar reports about unexplained medication changes. Ah, my chest tightened again. So it wasn't just us, this had been happening to others too. Families like ours, trusting, not knowing, suffering silently. They're reopening all those cases now, Brandon added. The investigation is getting bigger. I closed my eyes slowly. Justice was coming, yes, but along with it, more pain would rise, more truths would surface, and not all truths comfort people, some break them. Later that evening, Noah came into the room quietly, holding a small drawing in his hand. He walked up to Daniel's bed and stood there for a moment before speaking. Dad, I made this for you, he said softly. Daniel looked at him and gave a faint smile. Come here, he whispered. Noah sat beside him and handed him the drawing. It showed all of us standing together, smiling. Even in that weak moment, Daniel's eyes filled with tears. You drew me strong, he said gently. Noah nodded, because you will be strong again. Ah, children, they see hope so clearly, even when adults struggle to find it. I turned my face slightly, trying not to cry again. But tears came anyway, not from sadness this time, but from something softer, something like quiet hope. That night, as I sat alone for a moment, I realized healing is not just about the body. It is about trust, about fear, about learning to live again after something breaks inside you. And that kind of healing takes much longer. If Daniel's body slowly healed, would his heart and trust also recover, or had this betrayal changed him forever in ways we could not yet see? A week later, there was a small but noticeable change. Daniel sat up on his own for the first time. Ah, it was such a simple thing, yet it felt like a victory. I watched him carefully, afraid even to smile too soon, as if any happiness might disappear if I showed it too much. See, I told you, I said softly. He gave a weak smile. It's still hard, he admitted, but it's better than before. Better. Ah, that word was enough for me. Slowly, step by step, he began to recover physically. But emotionally, it was different. I could see it in the way he looked at people now, in the pauses before he spoke, in the quiet moments where he stared at nothing. Trust does not return as easily as strength. One afternoon, a police officer came to speak with us directly. He explained that Lena and her parents were now officially charged. There was enough evidence, recordings, illegal substances, financial transactions, everything linking them to a wide operation. It wasn't just experimentation, the officer said carefully. It was organized. They were collecting medical data to sell to outside groups. Ah, even hearing it again made my chest tighten. Selling human lives turned into numbers, into profit. Will they stay in prison? I asked quietly. The officer nodded. The charges are serious. It will take time, but this is not something they will walk away from. I felt a strange mixture of emotions. Relief, yes, but also sadness, because once they were part of this family, and now everything had turned into something unrecognizable. After the officer left, Daniel spoke quietly. I don't hate her, he said suddenly. I looked at him, surprised, but I don't know what I feel either. Ah, that made sense. Some betrayals are so deep that they leave confusion instead of clear emotions. You don't need to decide right now, I told him gently. Just focus on yourself, he nodded slowly. Later that evening, Brandon joined us, bringing some food from home. Real food, warm, familiar. The smell filled the room, and suddenly everything felt a little more normal. You need strength, he said simply as he placed it on the table. Noah laughed quietly. Hospital food is boring, he said. Ah, that small laugh, it felt like light returning after a long darkness. We all ate together that night, slowly. Quietly, but together, and that meant everything. When I returned home again that night, I sat alone for a while in the same chair where I had once felt trapped by pressure, by expectation, by fear. It felt different now. Ah, I felt different now. I looked around my small house and whispered softly to myself, I will never ignore my doubts again. Because sometimes that quiet voice inside you is not fear, it is truth. And if you silence it, you may lose more than you ever imagined. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. For the first time in many days, I felt something steady inside my chest. Not complete peace, not yet, but strength. The kind that grows after surviving something that almost broke you. Now that the truth had come out and justice was beginning, The real question remained, could our family truly rebuild after such deep betrayal, or would some fractures remain forever? Days slowly turned into weeks, and the world outside continued moving as if nothing had happened, but inside us, everything had changed. Daniel was finally discharged from the hospital, but returning home did not feel like the happy moment I had imagined in my heart before. It was quieter, slower, careful. Every step he took seemed measured, like his body was learning how to trust itself again. As we entered the house, he paused at the doorway for a long moment. His eyes moved across the familiar walls, the furniture, the small things that had once been part of his everyday life. It feels strange, he said softly. I understood. Sometimes after pain, even home feels different. It will feel normal again, I told him gently, though I knew it might take time. Brandon had already cleaned and organized everything. The medicine cabinet was cleared, every suspicious item removed. He had replaced it with properly labeled prescriptions from the hospital. He even checked everything twice, sometimes 3 times, like he didn't trust anything anymore. And honestly, neither did I. Daniel sat down slowly on the sofa. Noah ran to him but stopped halfway as if unsure how to act now. Then carefully he leaned into his father. "Are you okay, Dad?" he asked in a small voice. Daniel smiled faintly and placed his hand on Noah's head. "I'm getting there," he answered. That small moment, it meant so much. It felt like something fragile but real was still there between them. Later that evening, after Noah went to sleep, the three of us sat quietly at the table. No loud conversation, no distractions, just silence that carried everything we had been through. Finally, Daniel spoke. "I keep replaying everything in my head," he admitted. "Every moment, every conversation, trying to see where it started. I could see it clearly in his face, that search for answers, that need to understand." I reached for his hand gently. "Sometimes you won't find a clear answer," I said softly. "Some people make choices we can never fully understand." He nodded slightly but didn't look convinced. "I trusted her with everything," he said quietly, "and now I don't even recognize who she was." His words lingered in the air. Brandon, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "You trusted because you're not like her," he said firmly. "Don't let what she did change who you are." Those words, simple but strong. Daniel looked at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "I don't want to become someone who doubts everything," he said, "but I don't know how to trust the same way again." I looked at both of my sons and felt something deep inside me settle slightly. This was our new reality. Not perfect, not easy, but honest. And honesty, even when painful, gives something stronger than illusion. That night, I sat alone for a while after everyone slept. I opened my old drawer and took out the paper I had written before the surgery, my will. My hands trembled slightly as I unfolded it. Reading those words again, it felt like I was looking at a version of myself who was standing at the edge of something without knowing what was below. Slowly, I tore the paper, piece by piece. Not out of anger, but out of release. I was still here, alive, and I would not move forward living in fear anymore. I placed the torn pieces aside and whispered softly to myself, "This chapter is not the end," because despite everything, something inside me had changed. Something had awakened, and I would not ignore it again. Even though we had survived the truth, the question remained, could the wounds inside us truly fade with time, or would they continue to shape every part of our future? Life did not return to what it was before, and perhaps it never would. But slowly, it started moving forward again. Daniel began light therapy sessions at home, small exercises, slow walks in the backyard. Sometimes he would stop midway, catching his breath, but each day he went a little further. And every time he did, I felt something warm in my chest, not excitement, but hope, a quiet kind of hope. Noah stayed close to him more than ever now, no longer just playing, but watching, helping, asking questions. One afternoon, I saw him bring a glass of water carefully with both hands. "Don't worry, Grandma," he said, trying to sound serious. "I checked it first." Those words made me freeze for a second, then gently I smiled. He was still a child, but he had seen too much. I walked over and knelt beside him. "You don't have to worry about everything now," I said softly. He looked at me uncertain. "But I want to help," he replied. I touched his cheek gently. "And you already have more than anyone could ask." He nodded slowly, and I could see a little of that childhood innocence returning, just a little. Brandon continued to handle everything outside. The case had grown larger than we ever imagined. More names were being uncovered, more evidence coming forward. Sometimes he would update us, sometimes he would stay quiet, only saying, "It's getting bigger." I didn't ask too many details anymore. Some truths once known stay heavy. One evening, the three of us sat together outside. The air was calm, the sky soft and fading into night. Daniel looked at the horizon and said quietly, "I think I understand something now." I turned toward him. "What is it, my son?" He took a deep breath. "We can't choose what people do to us, but we can choose what we become after it." Ah, I smiled softly. And what do you want to become? I asked. He looked at Noah, then at Brandon, then at me. Stronger but not colder, he said. Those words, they stayed with me. Stronger but not colder. Because that is the hardest balance to keep after betrayal. Not letting pain turn your heart into something hard, not letting fear take away your kindness. I placed my hand over his. Then you already took the first step, I said gently. That night, after everyone went inside, I stayed out a little longer. I looked at the sky, remembering everything that had happened. The hospital, the fear, the truth, the pain, and the moment everything almost ended. I took a deep breath. Thank you, I whispered softly, not to anyone in particular, but to that moment of truth, to Noah's courage, to Brandon's strength, to the chance to still be here. Because sometimes life breaks you just enough to show you what truly matters. And as I stood there in the quiet night, I realized something clearly for the first time. We were not the same family we once were, but we were still a family. And maybe, just maybe, this new version of us, built on truth, would be stronger than before. As healing slowly began, one final question remained. When the past comes back one last time, will we truly be ready to face it, or will it reopen everything we tried to heal? For a while, life stayed quiet. Not perfect, not completely healed, but steady. We learned how to move again, how to breathe without fear sitting on our shoulders every moment. Daniel was walking a little stronger now. Noah had started laughing more again, and Brandon, he finally allowed himself to rest sometimes. I thought maybe, just maybe, the worst had passed. But life, it doesn't always end things so simply. One afternoon, as I was preparing tea in the kitchen, there was a knock on the door. It wasn't loud, just two slow taps. But something about it made my chest tighten immediately. I opened the door carefully. A man stood there in a formal uniform, a legal officer, his face calm but serious. "Mrs. Margaret Lewis?" he asked. "Yes," I answered, my voice suddenly dry. He handed me a sealed envelope. "You are requested to appear as a witness in court next week." Court. The word alone made my fingers go cold. I closed the door slowly and stood there for a moment, holding that envelope like it was something heavier than paper. The past had returned. That evening, I sat with Brandon and Daniel and told them everything. The room fell silent again, not the same silence as before, but a familiar one. Daniel looked down, his hands clasped together tightly. "So we'll have to face them again," he said quietly. Brandon nodded. "Yes, and this time they'll try to defend themselves." That thought sent a chill through me. Lena speaking again, explaining, twisting the truth perhaps, trying to justify everything. My heart felt uneasy. "I don't know if I'm ready," I admitted softly. Noah, who had been quiet until now, suddenly moved closer to me. "You don't have to be scared, Grandma," he said gently. Such simple words, but they carried strength. I looked at him, my brave little boy, the one who had already faced more than any child should. Brandon placed his hand over mine. "You don't have to face it alone this time," he said firmly. Daniel looked up slowly, his voice soft but steady. "We're with you." In that moment, something inside me settled again. Fear was still there, yes, but this time I wasn't alone in it. That night, I opened the envelope and read every word carefully. The case was going to be bigger than we imagined. There were more witnesses, more victims, more truths waiting to come out, and I would have to stand there and speak. Not just for myself, but for everyone who didn't know they had been harmed. I closed my eyes slowly and whispered to myself, "This time I will not stay silent." If standing in court meant reopening every painful memory, would I have the strength to face Lena again and speak the truth without breaking, or would the past try to silence me once more? The day of the court arrived faster than I expected. No matter how much time passes, some days come like storms you cannot avoid. That morning, I woke up earlier than usual. My hands felt cold, my chest heavy, like I was walking towards something I could not escape. Brandon came to pick me up. He didn't say much at first, just gave me a reassuring look. Daniel came too, walking slowly but determined. And Noah, he insisted on coming, even though we told him he didn't have to. "I want to be there," he said quietly. I didn't argue. We arrived at the courthouse. The building was tall, cold, silent in a way that made every step echo louder than it should. Inside, everything felt formal, distant, but tense. When I entered the courtroom, my eyes moved slowly across the room, and then I saw her. Lena, she looked different. Her confident posture was gone, her face pale, her eyes uncertain. But still, when our eyes met, something passed between us. Not warmth, not familiarity, only distance. It was like looking at a stranger who once knew everything about your life. I felt my heart beat faster, my breath tighten. For a moment, I wanted to look away, to avoid it, to pretend I wasn't there. But then I remembered Noah's trembling voice, Brandon's determination, Daniel's fragile trust, and I stayed strong still. The proceedings began. One by one, voices spoke, evidence was presented, recordings played, photos shown. Truths that once hid in shadows were now standing in the open. Then my name was called. My steps felt heavy as I walked forward. My hands trembled slightly as I took my place. State your statement, they said. I took a breath. It was not easy, but I began. I spoke about everything, the pressure, the fear, the trust, the moment I almost gave my life without knowing why. My voice shook sometimes, yes, but I did not stop. I did not turn away. And when I finished, the room remained silent for a moment. Not empty silence, but the kind filled with understanding. I stepped down slowly, and as I passed by Lena, she lowered her gaze. For the first time, she didn't argue. She didn't defend, she didn't speak. Maybe the truth had finally caught up. When I reached my family again, Brandon held my shoulder gently. Daniel gave a small nod. Noah smiled softly. And in that moment, I felt something lift from my chest, not the pain, but the weight of hiding it. I had spoken, I had faced it, and I had not broken. Now that the truth had been spoken in front of everyone, would justice truly bring peace, or would the final outcome leave a mark that no verdict could ever erase? The days after the court felt long, slow, and heavy with waiting. Every morning I woke up with the same question sitting quietly in my chest: what will happen now? Sometimes waiting for an ending is harder than living through the pain itself. Daniel stayed mostly silent during those days, not withdrawn but thoughtful, as if he was trying to understand everything from a place deeper than anger. Brandon kept checking updates, speaking with people involved in the case, but he never overwhelmed us with details. And Noah, my brave little boy, he stayed close, always watching, always listening, as if making sure nothing would go wrong again. Then one afternoon, the call came. Brandon answered it. I watched his face closely. His expression didn't change immediately, but I saw it slowly, that release, that quiet shift. He hung up the phone and looked at us. It's over, he said softly. Those two words, my hands trembled slightly. What do you mean? I asked. He stepped closer. They've been sentenced. The evidence was clear. Everything, the recordings, the medicine, the illegal operations, nothing could be denied. I felt something lift from inside me, something I had been carrying without even realizing how heavy it was. Daniel closed his eyes slowly, breathing out deeply. Then it's truly finished, he whispered. But was it really finished? Justice had been done, yes, but healing is a different journey. That evening we sat together in the living room. No fear, no tension, just a quiet understanding between us. I don't feel happy, Daniel said after a while. I looked at him gently. That's okay, I said softly. Not every ending feels like happiness. He nodded slightly. But I do feel lighter. That was enough. Not joy, not celebration, but peace beginning to grow. I reached for both my son's hands. We didn't lose everything, I said quietly. They looked at me. We lost trust in someone, but we didn't lose each other. Noah smiled quietly beside us. And in that moment, I realized something important. Justice doesn't erase pain, but it gives you space to finally start healing. If justice could bring us this quiet peace, then the final question remained: could we truly move forward without fear and learn to trust life again? Time passed gently after that, not fast, not rushed, but steady. And for the first time in a long while, life felt real again. Daniel continued recovering slowly. Some days were stronger than others, but each step forward mattered. One morning, I watched him walk across the backyard without stopping, and I realized we had come further than I thought. Noah returned to school fully, his laughter slowly returning the way it used to be. Sometimes I would stand by the window and hear him talking excitedly again, and my heart would feel full. Brandon, my strong son, finally allowed himself to rest. He still watched over everything, but now there was less tension in his shoulders, less weight in his voice. And me, I changed too. I no longer ignored that quiet feeling inside me, that small voice that says something isn't right. I learned to listen to it, to trust it. One evening, we all sat outside together. The sky was calm, painted in soft colors as the sun disappeared. Daniel spoke first. I used to think being strong meant never questioning anything, just believing and moving forward, he said. He looked at me. But now I think strength is knowing when to stop and when to ask why. I smiled gently. That is real strength, I said. Noah leaned against my arm. And telling the truth, even when you're scared, he added. I laughed softly. Yes, especially then. Brandon looked at both of them and then at me. We didn't just survive this, he said quietly. We learned from it. Those words stayed in my heart because that was true. We were not the same family as before. But we were stronger, wiser, closer, not because nothing bad happened, but because we faced it together. That night before I went to sleep, I opened my old diary and wrote something simple. Sometimes the people you trust the most will hurt you, but sometimes the ones you never expect will save you. Listen to your heart, because silence can cost more than truth. I closed the diary and sat still for a moment. I felt calm, not perfect, but complete in a way I hadn't felt before. If you are listening to my story, I want to ask you something. If something inside you feels wrong, would you stay silent to protect peace, or would you speak, even if it breaks everything? Because sometimes breaking the silence is the only way to save what truly matters. And I learned that just in time. Life will test you, people will disappoint you, but never let fear silence your truth. Because your voice, even if it trembles, can change everything.